There are too many iconic or popular superheroes to name that originate from both DC and Marvel comics. The presence of comic book characters have had a monumental impact on pop culture and have been representative of the changing times throughout the decades. For a good while now, there's been this debate on who should be on the Mount Rushmore for comic book superheroes, the top 4 superheroes as some might put it. When any casual or diehard fan of superhero comics or media is asked this question, most of the time they depict it as who are the top 4 most popular superheroes or who are the best all around. The top 3 are pretty much inarguable for being on anyone's Mount Rushmore. Superman is the archetype for the modern superhero. You cannot deny his influence on how comic books were made and how superheroes have been depicted since the late 1930s. Any Mount Rushmore would be invalid without him and the glorious King Bruce Wayne, the Batman. Like, stop playing with me, bro. Like, that's my goat, Nick. Spider-Man is without a doubt the most popular Marvel hero and arguably the most popular hero in mainstream media. His struggles with responsibility and personal life introduced a new level of storytelling in comics. However, that 4th spot is where things can get a little heated and the debates start to arise. Some people use it as an excuse to try and defame or bring down a character's influence on the culture of comic books. While most people would use the argument of, oh, ask a random person to name 4 popular superheroes, and the most said answer is indicative of who should be on the Mount Rushmore, essentially treating it as a popularity contest, I'm looking at it from the perspective of why 4 specific US presidents were chosen for Mount Rushmore. Alright, ladies and gents, get your notes out. This is just some pre-review, very basic, fundamental US history. Nothing too crazy. There's gonna be a pop quiz later this week, so you make sure you're paying attention.
You know, I don't like to say these words out of my mouth. We do got a quiz this week. This Friday. 13 question quiz. Multiple choice, 12 of them. No, 11 multiple choice, and then 2 short responses. Alright? Please get your notes out.
The 4 presidents from left to right include George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. But why these 4 in particular? Is it that they're the most popular and recognizable? Well, the sculpture of Mount Rushmore, Gutzon Borglum, selected Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt, and Lincoln because he believed they best represented major events that shaped the country or key moments in US history. George Washington represents the birth of the nation as he was the first elected US president. Thomas Jefferson is considered to be the primary author of the Declaration of Independence and helped expand the territory of the US. Theodore Roosevelt offered leadership during a time where America faced very rapid economic growth in the 20th century. And Lincoln helped preserve the United States during the Civil War and aided in the abolishment of slavery. So taking that into account for superheroes, those most instrumental in shaping how they were perceived in comics and their historical significance in the comic book industry, there's really only one right answer. The most popular picks I've seen for the 4th spot are generally Marvel characters who have had a really grand rise in mainstream popularity in the past couple of decades or so. Generally speaking, the most common answers I see are characters like Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, and Wolverine. Wolverine definitely has had more modern mainstream popularity over someone like Wonder Woman, mainly due to being adapted more in media. But he's not a foundational superhero compared to the likes of Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. Definitely influential, but not to the degree of those guys. Iron Man wasn't a Z-lister prior to the MCU, but you wouldn't hear about conversations of Iron Man even being a contender in the top 4 prior to 2008. The success of the MCU is nothing to sneeze at and has had a large impact in how superhero movies are made in the 21st century, but take a look at the cultural comic influence Iron Man's creation has had on the storytelling of superheroes in the 1960s compared to Superman and Batman. His comic creation didn't define a genre shift. Him being a household name is fairly recent in the grand scheme of things. If the 4th option had to be between, say, Iron Man and Captain America, I think Cap would be the better contender given his historical ties with World War II. I mean, his first appearance is literally him punching Hitler in the face. Captain America quickly became a symbol of American patriotism, with many of his stories addressing societal issues such as patriotism during wartime and moral integrity. When taking into account that I'm referring to superheroes with heavy historical significance in shaping the kinds of superheroes we see today, the obvious answer is Wonder Woman. She is the embodiment of female comic book heroes superheroes becoming as prominent as they've been. A lot of people might take issue with that simply due to how little she's been adapted in media compared to her contemporaries. A large part of this, I think, is just simply due to her being a female fictional character, as pretty much all popular female superheroes don't have many standalone projects themselves. Most of their popularity is tied to big superhero teams, or they'll have maybe 1 to 2 movies/TV shows at best. It's been shown that many Hollywood executives didn't have the utmost confidence in investing in a female superhero for the longest time. I mean, with the disparity in the quantity of Batman projects compared to other characters, you'd almost be fooled into thinking that there is no Trinity and it's just the Batman cinematic universe.
You gotta at least be talking about the big three, like you, Superman, and
Motherfuck the big three! It's just big myth.
The first Wonder Woman solo movie proved how successful she can be in mainstream media, so you would think that'd be proof enough to greenlight more projects surrounding Wonder Woman. I really hope Wonder Woman 1984 didn't do any long-lasting damage to the character, as I don't think that movie's failure should be used to justify less Wonder Woman content in the future. If Wonder Woman 1984 was ever the standard for Wonder Woman content, then yeah, I would completely understand anyone's disdain for the character. Not only was that movie a complete stinker, there are sections of the plot that are just a complete snooze fest to watch. If you want to fall asleep, try watching the middle act. But you could do yourself a favor in getting a guaranteed good night's rest by using this video sponsor, Manta Sleep. To help in getting that quality rest, Manta Sleep offers some of the best high quality sleep masks that make the experience all the more comfortable. They've made it their personal mission to aid in anyone's goal in daily naps throughout the day, giving emphasis on the pro nap movement. Utilizing sleep masks with complete 100% blackout would be incredibly beneficial to a good afternoon nap. They were kind enough to send me a sound sleep mask with Bluetooth capabilities. Comes with razor thin, easily adjustable Bluetooth headphones with a rechargeable battery. Not to mention it's got a 20-hour battery life. Since it can automatically connect to your device, you can listen to your favorite podcast or audiobook while getting some much needed rest. For my light sleepers out there, these masks were made for y'all in mind. The eye cups are easily adjustable to fit with your particular sleep needs, with a good curved strap to fit perfectly over the eyes and ears, toppled with optimal materials that allow for proper airflow and ventilation. And if you just so happen to sleep regularly with that special someone, you're in luck, because there is a Valentine's Day offer running from February 12th to the 18th. If you buy a sleep mask in that time frame, you can save 50% on any mask accessory. Again, it's only from February 12th to the 18th, so get on that while you can. Be sure to visit mantasleep.com and use the promo code ENTERPRISES at checkout to get a 10% discount on any item in the shop. To make things easier, you can also click the affiliate link in the description below and get yourself some fire sleep masks. Big thanks to Manta Sleep for sponsoring the video. Having Wonder Woman in the superhero Mount Rushmore only makes sense when taking into account how the 4 pillars represent fundamental aspects of the comic book industry that many superheroes follow. Wonder Woman broke barriers, challenged gender roles, and demonstrated the impact women could have in comics by not being seen as damsels in distress. She was detrimental in inspiring people to create stories about strong heroines in superhero comics. Being the most iconic female superhero, your favorite female DC or Marvel character probably wouldn't exist or be who they are today without Wonder Woman. She's been a positive feminine symbol since the golden age of comics, debuting only a couple of years after Batman, with her first appearance being published in 1941. The creator of Wonder Woman, William Moulton Marston, designed her as a means of advocating for the increased participation of women in society. Around this time during World War II, women were taking on more industrial and factory jobs as men fought off in the war. His idea was that we needed to value feminine contributions to the world to have balance. Back then, comics were being deemed as too violent. Adults were getting upset with what they believed was excessive violence shown to kids. Some narrative critics went as far as calling characters like Superman a fascist.
Like, look at this. It's like Batman stuff, but Batman's a fascist.
So in response, Marston came up with the idea to create a superhero that was all about love to better cater towards kids. A character who would triumph over conflict with peace rather than violence. His wife gave him the idea to make the character female, and he was like, I bet. Thus, Wonder Woman made her debut in All-Star Comics issue 8. She would go on to make an impact in such a male-dominated space, bringing in a new target demographic of young girls interested in superheroes, as well as conveying the grand sense of heroism female characters can bring to avid comic readers. After the end of the war, superhero comic sales began to plummet and fade out with the next generation of new readers. The growing interest was shifting away from superheroes to other genres like Western and horror comics. The only characters that have no break in in publication throughout the 1950s were Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman received her own solo book 6 months after her first appearance, which has been in print ever since, making Wonder Woman the third longest running comic book in history, only behind Superman and Batman. Wonder Woman issue 1 in 1942 was the first ever DC comic to feature a female as the title character, which is impressive as most comics back then were anthologies featuring multiple characters and features. It was rare for an ongoing comic to be devoted to a single character, unless they were as huge as Batman or Superman. From the feminist movement to the broader fight for gender equality, Wonder Woman has always been at the forefront of pushing for a more inclusive and just world. Even though it didn't last long, it speaks volumes that Wonder Woman was chosen to be designated as the United Nations honorary ambassador for the empowerment of women and girls in late 2016, with a campaign that encouraged those to speak out against discrimination and limitations on women and girls. Now, the discussion on which characters should or shouldn't make it on the Mount Rushmore of superheroes shouldn't be indicative of some heroes being better than others or characters not having any impact on the genre as a whole. The criteria of a Mount Rushmore differs from person to person, with a lot of people using it as a means of listing the most popular comic book characters in mainstream media. It's all subjective, but I tried to go at it with a mentality of applying the logic behind the actual Mount Rushmore to superheroes in Marvel and DC comics, prioritizing characters who have significantly impacted the evolution of the comic medium itself, rather than simply being the most popular or powerful. Whether you care for the character or not, you can't deny the cultural significance Wonder Woman has had in her 80+ years of existence, and how vital her role is in advocating for female characters to get more attention. Thus, I think she's the perfect contender for that 4th spot.